Alright, so I said recently somewhere, was it on the Discord? Was it on my Discord? It might have been, because I still troll around there. I just don't reply very often. But I said somewhere recently that I was planning to wait to watch the new Avatar movie, what's it called? Like Avatar Aang the Last Airbender, or like there's an alternate title for it too, I think, on Paramount Plus as a watch-along live stream where you guys would have to call up your own version of it, but we could watch it together. That didn't pan out. I apologize for that. I have watched it twice since then. So I thought I'd talk about it instead, and I will save something for the end of this video. A surprise that's going to be the unknown from the video's title, because it is something that I haven't seen yet. And I want to react to that instead as sort of an apology for not recording my first reaction to the movie. I was doing some training with my puppies, and it was some pretty low stakes training. I needed something to have on in the background, so I put that on. Yeah, and it's remarkable, isn't it, that something it's not perfect, that movie. It's not a perfect movie, but something as good as that could be coming out at around the same time as another edition of the Avatar franchise that's just so bad. And that is, of course, the Netflix Avatar live-action adaptation, which, is it? I don't know if it's technically the worst show I've ever seen, but it might be my least favorite. It's definitely my least favorite adaptation of anything that I've ever seen. I don't think, with a few very minor exceptions, I don't think it has any artistic merit whatsoever. And quite frankly, I keep seeing people online talking about how much they love it. And every single time, and I know this is not right, this isn't the reaction I should be having, but every time I hear somebody say that, I lose respect for them. Because it is just so terrible. And I'm not the first person to talk about this, so I'm going to get through it relatively quickly. I'm going to get through both of them, technically both of the reviews that I'm going to put forth in this video and try to get to that reaction as quick as possible. But I just... First of all, every single one of these kids in the live action grew up more than they were supposed to. Like the M. Night Shyamalan movie, for all of its flaws, at least tried to get around that by saying that they had like 3 years, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't watched that movie in a long time, but I'm pretty sure they said they had like 3 years to train Aang instead of like however many months or whatever, you know? Something like that. They extended the timetable, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. And I always assumed that was to explain why the characters would seem older, seem like they had aged more than they should have. And here, they don't even try. And the kid playing Aang, he looks way too old now. They keep talking about how he's a little kid. He doesn't look like a little kid. I didn't even think he looked like a little kid in season 1, but he definitely doesn't look like a little kid now. He looks like a young man. And he doesn't look like Aang anymore. And I mean no offense to him, because the actor, in what I've seen of him just as himself, he seems like a sweet guy. He's not a great actor. And on top of that, the writing for Aang in this season is just abysmal. He's a dick through the entire thing, just a complete asshole. Not only that, but they did what season 1 did, and they try to cram in as many big iconic moments from the show as they possibly can, regardless of whether or not they still fit within the scope of the changes made by the show. And it ends up ruining the story and the themes. They lose Appa for a day in this one, and it isn't until they get to Ba Sing Se, and yet they still go along the Serpent's Pass for some reason, even though the whole reason they did that in the show is because they had lost Appa and couldn't fly over. And Aang was being a dick in the show because he had lost Appa, and the theme of that episode was him finding a reason to hope again. Here he's just a dick because he's a dick. He's like that through the entire season. He's in a bad mood constantly. He snaps at people. He puts people down. I don't know why any of these people like him. They feel... Katara, especially in some scenes, almost feels like an abused partner who's only sticking around because she needs her partner for something. It feels like these characters only stick around so they could try to guide the Avatar towards saving the world before they abandon him for being an asshole. It's not fun to watch. With one exception. I can't remember her name for the life of me. I'll try to remember to put it in the video. The girl they got to play Toph is perfect. She not only manages to make a lot of the piss-poor writing in this season sound good, but like, man, it's like this David Cornsweet guy's playing Superman right now, and basically all the actors in the new One Piece adaptation. It's like this girl was just born to play Toph. She's perfect. It's just such a shame that she is in this absolute dog shit adaptation. Like, let's take the library segment of the show. The library is in Ba Sing Se now. And, rather than, what was his name? The explorer guy. Rather than him losing his life because he chooses to stay there with all that knowledge, rather than leave without it, he just gets eaten by the owl guy. Just shits on that theme. That big theme of the episode. That character's whole arc. And I get he's not a very important character. But that was the coolest thing about the cartoon, is even minor characters got arcs. And the part of the season where they all split off, well, they don't have the same reason to split off here. So they have to have one of those stupid misunderstanding scenes where they all get mad at each other and run away like babies. It's so cliche, and didn't need to be there if the show had just actually adapted these characters correctly. But I think the worst part is Zuko. The whole Zuko alone part, where he does steal from a pregnant woman, and he does actually try to, like, destroy the town, not entirely on purpose, but he ends up actively destroying the town, and yet still sort of somehow ends up in the same place he did by the end of the animated episode. It's just so baffling. Like, cause and effect is a thing. When you so completely change a character's actions and motivations, and you have to really work to get them to the same place they were in the source material, and they just don't put in the work. I also hate Azula in this. There's nothing subtle about her, and she's no fun at all. Neither are May and Ty Lee. They're just there. Like, Azula's a cackling mad villain in this one, and like, that was a sign that things had really gone off the rails when she turned into a mad cackling villain by the end, right? That was a sign that something was wrong. But here it's just what she is. I just hate it. I think it's trash. I hope it gets canceled. It's not going to, though. Because end of the day, it does look good. The bending looks good, the martial arts are good, and the characters, for the most part, look like the counterparts from the cartoon. The sets are good. Like, Ba Sing Se is really cool. Like, I'll admit that, too. It looks really good. But the show itself, like, there's more to a show than just how it looks. In every way that matters, aside from, like, the work being put in by the production department, you know. This show has no merit whatsoever, and I don't want it to exist anymore. It's so frustrating. Because I was hoping. There were some baffling choices made in season 1, but it wasn't awful. It wasn't like literally scraping beneath the bottom of the barrel awful. I could see places where they could improve and give us a better season the second time around. And they just seem to swerve everywhere that they should have dipped. I don't know, it's bad. They did the opposite. They did the opposite of that, is what I'm trying to say. But I lost my metaphor halfway through. I don't know, I just hate it. I hate it a lot. And I don't understand how people are like, oh, Aang is so endearing in live action. He's so sympathetic, he makes me so sad because you can tell his pain is weighing on him so much more in this version. So much more. No, he's just a dick. He's just an asshole. He's not more realistic here. He's just an asshole. The kid who tried to lean into his innocence as a kid to cope was so much more realistic than this is. The kid who had to grow up so fast that he ended up, I don't know, feeling kind of like an immature adult as of like the time of Korra, like the way he interacted with his own children, you know? That's so much more realistic than this is. This kid's just a dick, like looking for sympathy for his horrible past. And I don't like him. I don't know. Thankfully, though, we have the Paramount Plus movie, and this leaked a while ago, and was also apparently pretty heavily edited from the original intention, because I guess they wanted it to be like a hard PG-13, and Paramount wouldn't let them do that. Despite all of that, it's really good. Like, it feels very much like a shonen movie. Like, I'll use Cooler's Revenge from Dragon Ball Z as an example. In that movie, the brother of, up to that point, the by far most dangerous enemy the heroes had ever faced, shows up to get revenge for his brother's death, and despite that being a huge lore reveal that this guy had a brother who kind of seemed like he may be even stronger. I don't think so, but that's what the movie says. It's such a lore reveal with such heavy lore implications, and yet the dude's never talked about anywhere else except the one sequel to that movie that he got, and at least in that one, not in the sequel that he got. The animation is really good. It's better than the base show. And, like, I know the reason that they never talk about Cooler outside of those two particular movies is because he's not canon. Like, I guess the concept of the character might be, depending on what you read. But those events didn't happen. And I know the animation is as strong as possible because those old anime OVAs were primarily, like, animation tech demos, right? So this isn't one-to-one. Like, this movie is definitely intended to be canon to Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. But it feels very much like one of those shonen movies. The animation here is so breathtakingly good. It is so good. It still looks and feels like the Avatar world, but it looks so staggeringly beautiful. This is the best this world has ever looked, and maybe the best it ever will look, frankly. I don't know how they could do better than this. They could match it, obviously, but I don't know how they could do better than this. And the villain is, spoilers, sorry, another airbender, besides Aang, in the time between the original series and when Legend of Korra brings the airbenders back, as a concept. Which should have huge lore implications, but nobody talks about him later. And I still don't entirely understand why. Like, why wasn't this guy at least mentioned when airbenders started popping up in the world again in Korra? Was that season 3, I guess? Yeah. Unless Aang and the rest of the gang just literally didn't tell anybody about who he was and what he did, right? But, like, he does slot in here well enough. If you assume that just nobody wanted to talk about him or nobody knew the relevance of talking about him, it fits. And I'm not going to get too much into what specifically it did. I'll give one example. This did take a couple of concepts that Korra added to the lore and just kind of established that those concepts didn't come out of nowhere in Korra's era. That they were already part of the lore here. I know it's retroactive, but I'm going to talk about why that matters in a second, at least to me. And let's use specifically the idea of giving people airbend, specifically. I would imagine they could do it with different kinds, because they do specifically mention it's technically channeling the same spiritual technique the lion turtles used to originally grant the ability to bend to humanity. So I imagine it could give other kinds too, but it's only used for airbending here. It felt like it might be possible once we learned about spirit bending in the original series, but it was still something that seemed to come out of nowhere in Korra. Giving us a story where we see that is possible, featuring the original gang, helps it feel like it's less a brand new thing as of Korra's time, and more like it's just part of the lore. It anchors that new lore in the original familiar, right? And there's a couple more things they do here too. We also see where they find the additional sky bison, the ones with the slightly different back stripes that show up in Korra. We find out where they found them and why nobody knew they existed up until that point. And it's actually a really satisfying addition to the lore. And I'll admit, I cried a little. I also was affected way more than I thought I would be by seeing Appa again. I really love that guy. He didn't get to do a lot in this movie, and there was one thing he did that I'm not sure he would have done. But I'll talk about that in a minute, and I'll try to justify why he did it. But it was really good to see him and Momo, and the cabbage guy, and the guy that went feral when he saw the Avatar. They were all in this. Suki was also technically in it, I guess. And I liked all the voices they got for the characters. Steven Yeun is an inspired choice for Zuko. The villain was voiced by Batista. He kind of looked like Batista. So, great pick. And the movie absolutely knew how hyped Toph is. Like Korra did too, I think. But I think they put Toph in as much as they did towards the end of Korra because people had been talking about how cool Toph was long enough that they picked up on it. Here, they just go into production of the thing knowing. She gets a scene, each character gets a scene reintroducing them. She gets a scene teaching her metal bending class. And you actually see characters there from the comic, which is very cool. And when I say teaching, I mean beating the shit out of all of them, single-handedly, without even using her hands. It was amazing. And then later on, she gets a morphing sequence. They knew. I will say, though, that while I think the best of the voice actors in this for sounding like the original was, I cannot remember who it was now, whoever they got to play Sokka. Sokka's humor in this landed about half the time for me. I think that's just because a lot of the Sokka humor in the original show apparently was improv to some degree, and here they were trying to write it, and that doesn't always work out, But for the most part, it was good. I thought the humor around Toph was stronger, frankly. She was just thirsty for the villain the whole time, prior to when we found out he was a villain, fortunately. And that was just really funny. And I liked... This added a bunch of new avatars to the Avatar cycle. We got to talk to a couple of them extensively, and they were both really fun. The designs of all of them were really fun, but the two that we got to interact with extensively were really fun. I liked them a lot. And I love... They didn't have to do this. The bad guy could have just been a cool evil airbender. He could have just been Zahir 2.0, or I guess Zahir 0.5. But they made him the metaphorical representation of Aang's past pain and guilt over losing the other airbenders by his actions. He's a guy who all of the airbenders of his time, not all of them literally, but like most of the airbenders of his time were wiped out in a war with the newly established Earth Kingdom because he wasn't strong enough to stop them. And he feels guilty for that, and he's trying to take his guilt out on the world rather than trying to reverse what was done, like Aang is. And it comes down to Aang has to let his guilt go. And we get a fantastic scene of him literally letting go of the villain's hand as he like dissolves because the thing that had been sustaining his life all this time was destroyed. And it's accompanied by an absolutely beautiful scene of all of Aang's friends from when he was a kid flying off into like the light of the sun, symbolic of Aang finally forgiving himself and letting his guilt go so he can finally move forward. And like, that's maybe a little bit contradicted by Korra, where he seemed really to favor his airbending child, because here his conclusion is it's the culture that's most important, not the bending. But like, we don't know the nuances of that. We don't know how much of that was just the other kids looking at it from their perspective, right? How much of that was like not literally exactly what happened. Like, I could definitely see Boomy in particular, like just rebelliously pushing back against learning about airbender culture because he was resentful that his brother had airbending, but he didn't, you know? And like, Korra, the show, gets rid of the freaking Avatar cycle, which pisses me off, and I will talk about that at some point, if I haven't already, I don't remember. So we can't, Aang just, he can't show up to defend himself. We only have what the kids tell us happened, you know? I don't know. But we get to see, the movie treats it like it's the literal formation of the organization, but I'm assuming because the comics are still supposed to be canon, it's him expanding the Air Acolytes with some members of the like ancillary villain group from this movie, and we actually get to see them go out and look for airbender stuff, and that's when they find the other Bisons. It was really cute. There is one scene in this that's pretty notorious, though, when the villain reveals himself to be the villain, and he's like incredibly powerful because in the past he connected with the spirit world and it elevated him to something beyond human, and he has like another state he can reach when he does that again, but it's implied that it makes him just generally stronger from that point forward, because he's able to keep up with Aang in the Avatar state, and he's able to completely body the rest of Team Avatar while Aang's not there, and actually kill them. If it weren't for the same sort of Deus Ex Machina, not literally, but like the kind of thing that people colloquially call a Deus Ex Machina, that Katara used to bring Aang back after he was killed by Azula's lightning in the end of season 2, they would all be dead. And there's a animatic that leaked online. I might try to find it and put a little bit of it in the video, but it's pretty brutal, man. That you could say happened off screen still in the movie, but it was cut from the movie. Where, like, there's blood and shit, man. It's pretty rough. And, after all that's over, and the dude also kills Aang, again, while he's in the Avatar state, so again, if Katara had resurrected him a second time, he would have broken the Avatar cycle instead of Korra. I'll never get over that. And I don't blame Korra either. I just think it was bad writing. But after he does that, Appa goes with him. Goes with the villain. And I kind of see it as him realizing his friend is dead, and he doesn't have anything else to live for except, like, maybe continuing his duty as being the mount to the last airbender, you know? I still don't think he'd do that. I would like a better explanation for why he did that. I did like how anime the fights were in this. That was really cool. I like that Sokka got a really big moment to shine in this. Everybody else was doing bending shit throughout the entire thing. Sokka got a big moment to kind of make up for the fact that he couldn't do that. He got a couple. I guess technically, but one of them was just running on a wheel. I liked the spirit world stuff we got in this one. Taika Waititi plays a spirit. He was really funny. And when they go to the spirit world, it's out of balance. So they're like in different aged or de-aged forms, kind of like Korra was that one time. And I like how Momo, they represented him being younger by just having him de-digivolve from his rookie form to his in-training form. That was hilarious. And I thought it was cool to actually see them establish Air Temple Island on what if I understood the dialogue correctly, is like the first anniversary of Republic City being established as Republic City, or like shortly after, like a few days after. That was cool. It was cool to see it bridge the gap between those things. I really liked it, and Paramount treated this movie like crap, so I'm not sure if we're getting any more. I really hope we do, though. And I really hope what comes after this otherwise can live up to this standard, and that's where we're gonna head now. Because what's the name of it? Avatar 7 Havens. We got a trailer for that, and I have not watched it yet. So I am going to stop the recording here, switch over to my slightly different setup where I'm facing my computer, and we're gonna do a live reaction to that trailer. Alright, and here we are. My audio was a little wonky in the previous recording. Hopefully I fixed it here, and hopefully it turns out, because I don't want to do that whole part of the video again. Avatar 7 Havens official teaser. Looks like it's about a minute and a half. Alright. Looks pretty so far. Subscribe to this. Animal companion, of course.
Why do you look like me?
Laura needs to be prepared, because long ago our ancestors weren't, and the Avatar let us down.
Okay. So I'm assuming the 7 Havens are like the safe places from whatever is going on. Right, well, that was an earthbender. Is one of these kids like the new Avatar? Because wouldn't it be Earth next in the cycle? Yeah, are they like twin avatars?
Humanity is not ready for the Avatar's return. And yet, it's the one thing this world needs the most.
Interesting. Yeah, there's gonna be something after it, of course. It's like dark spirit shit. I don't know what that was. That was freaky, though. Okay. Okay, people talking about it. Let's talk about it a little then. So I know, like, part of the premise of this is, I guess, that supposedly Korra destroyed the world. I don't believe that. I think it's going to be just something that people think happened, and we're going to have to find out the truth. Because if this is about the rise of a new Avatar, and Korra was the start of a new Avatar cycle, as stupid as that is, I'll just talk about it, in case I haven't talked about it elsewhere. The Avatar state comes from the combined strength and experience of the past Avatars in the cycle. So if the cycle's broken, there's no Avatar state. I get Korra tried to recontextualize it as being the power of What's her name? Rava, I think. But that's stupid. If that had always been the thing, then the past avatars would have known about it, because it would have been part of the teachings from the very beginning. And every time they went into the avatar state, they would have been able to connect with Rava. But frankly, it's just part of the stuff in the lore that Korra added that I genuinely think is bad writing. That, and I don't think the addition that it was the lion turtles that originally granted bending, I don't think either of those things are good. And like, even if we accept that Korra is still able to draw on the strength and experience of the past avatars without actually being able to physically to speak to them, that's still stupid, because the reason why the avatar could speak to the past avatars is because they're all the same person, and the avatar is super spiritual, so could connect with every aspect of their spirit, even past iterations of it. So unless there's just some way to still connect with those past spirits that Korra would have had to relearn, and it's not like as easily facilitated by the avatar's nature as the avatar, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for that connection to just be gone. I don't like that. But if we accept all of that, and we have to, then if this show is about the rise of a new avatar, then that avatar will be able to learn from Korra what happened. And I think that's going to be a big part of this show, at least like maybe the first arc or something. So, you know, that's pretty exciting. It is Earth next, right? Air, water, earth, fire. Yeah. So, do we have twin avatars? Is it possible for two people to be the avatar at once if they are born at the same time? That could be cool. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to see. I'm excited about it, though. Looked good. I mean, I'm at least going to give it a chance. It comes out in what, like October? That's not too far off. So yeah, I guess we're going to be watching that. Maybe I'll do some reactions to that. In the meantime, what do you guys think of all this? What do you guys think of the state of Avatar right now? I really like some stuff about Korra, and I think the comics are really good. Sometimes, part of maybe half the time, at least. But I kind of wish sometimes that the original series had just been the end of it. But then I see stuff like this new movie, and I'm like, man, I think my existence would be diminished if I hadn't seen that. I wouldn't know it, obviously, but it still would be, and the universe would know. But almost choked on my own spit there. What do you guys think of all this? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well subscribe. And check out my Patreon if you want all that stuff. In the meantime, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.